I was very lucky. I was recruited to join the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO, and it's headquartered in Rome. I was only 24. I was the youngest person they had ever hired. And it was basically to work in two different areas. One was for rural youth. And I have to back up as to how I got the job. I was a 4-H'er. I was an international farm youth exchangee. I went to New Zealand for 6 months. I would have never gotten that job, A, without a master's degree, and B, without some international experience. So I owe 4-H. So I came to FAO in Rome. I worked on rural youth, non-formal education, and also on home economics programs merged with agriculture, primarily in Kenya, Swaziland, Botswana, and Lesotho. But then after that, a great friend of mine had just moved to Nigeria, and he said, you know, you really need to come to Nigeria because it's a wonderful agricultural research center, one of 19, funded by the World Bank. And you know, he said, I'm embarrassed to tell you, but we have never tested our crops with women. I said, how could you not have tested your crops with women? They're the farmers. I went there, and after 3 years, I fell in love with the place. I left Rome, left the UN job, and my job was to introduce the food crops to rural women. The IITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, had male agronomists from throughout the world, all with PhD, beautiful acreage. But when I started testing them with women, they said, this crop doesn't work. We don't have insecticides, we don't have pesticides. And besides, your cassava is too big. And you know what? It has too much water. I can't carry this to the market. So I would bring these rural women in to meet with the agronomists, and they would pretty much destroy their whole research agenda. And at first, they were very unhappy, but we would train up to 300 women a day, and the reason I was able to do that is that I then recruited home economists from the Ministry of Agriculture. I gave them additional salary because they knew the local languages. But the big breakthrough, and I have to show you this, was with soybeans. Entirely new crop. They had never known it before. So we worked at the hospitals. The most successful was a Baptist hospital called Ogbomoso, and taught them how to do soybean milk. And it was a tough economic period in Nigeria during that time. So 30-minute regiment, 24 hours, and kids' lives were saved. And then we went to the chiefs and we got plots of land in order to grow the soybeans. But then the women were so clever. They would say, you know, the soybeans are great, but you know, if we mix it with a local wonderful nut called dadawa, it makes a really tasty meal. So they would deep fry them, and then they would take it to market. So this went on for a couple of years, and one day the director general called and he said, oh, Dr. Hahn, there's a delegation here from the king of the Yoruba tribe. I said, really? To see me? So they came in, and these men were all dressed in this regalia, and they sat down very royally, and they said, you know, our women of our tribe say that you should be a chief. I said, really? They said, no, just a moment, it's not that easy. We have to watch your work for 1 year, and then we have to give you a title. Because it's not just becoming a chief, you have to have the title. I said, okay, this is what we do. Thousands of women, Yoruba language, also Igbo. We weren't in the north, in the Hausa, because agronomically, those are the two regions that it did the best. So a year later, the big day comes. You know, the kind of thing you have 500 for lunch and 3,000 for dinner. So the chiefs came in, and they titled me the Belungani Yalaje. And the Belungani Yalaje means the person who empowers. Now, is that not better than the Harvard degree? You know, now you have to see me as a chief because this is really cute.